In the last video, we saw how to manage inventory, and many of the tasks applied to both seller-shipped and FBA inventory. In this video, we're going to look at the specifics of dealing with FBA inventory using the Amazon Fulfilled inventory page. Even if you don't ship your own products, if you only use FBA, you should still watch the previous video, as many of the operations also apply to FBA inventory, and we're not going to repeat that information here. So now let's look at the FBA specific page, the Amazon Fulfilled inventory page. You can get there using the Manage FBA Inventory option in the inventory menu, or by using the Inventory Amazon Fulfills link at the top of the Manage Inventory page. At the top, we can choose what we want to see on this page. By default, it's going to display a list of all your FBA items, but you can enter some kind of search term in the text box here to find a particular item. You can use a product title or just part of a title, a merchant SKU, an A sign, or the FN SKU. The FN SKU, by the way, is yet another unique identifier. Every item entering the Amazon warehouse is assigned an FN SKU, a fulfillment network SKU. This number identifies both the item and the merchant who submitted it. We have various other filters we can get to using the text box on the left. We can choose to see items filtered by the fulfillment center quantities. We can select all items, which is really the same as the default page listing, but we can also ask Amazon to show us only items with fulfillable inventory in an Amazon warehouse. That is, inventory that's on the shelves and ready to sell. We can also ask to see a list of items that have no fulfillable inventory. That is, items for which you have listings and that are assigned to FBA, but for which there is no stock in an Amazon warehouse. Items that have been sold out or perhaps have not yet reached an Amazon warehouse. And then there are items with unfulfillable inventory. That is, items that are in an Amazon warehouse but cannot be fulfilled. These are items that are perhaps lost in the warehouse somewhere. It happens. Or maybe they've been returned by buyers as damaged items. Eventually such items are cleared out. In some cases, when Amazon loses or damages something itself, Amazon will actually reimburse you. You can also choose to see listings that have errors, or perhaps just the listings that have no errors. Finally, you can also specify a price range. You can ask Amazon to show only products over $100, for example, or between $0 and $10. Under the search bar is a storage monitor. Each merchant has a specific limit on how many items may be submitted to the Amazon warehouses, so this is a quick way to see if you're anywhere close to the limits. We have a couple of checkboxes to modify the listing a little. By default, archived items are not included in the list. If necessary, you can use the Include Archived Items checkbox to include them though. I'll show you how to archive items in a moment. And the Show A-sign/FN SKU checkbox adds those two little pieces of information to the listings. Now, let's see what information we're provided with. Most of this you'll already be familiar with. The merchant SKU, the title, condition, and price. You can change the price directly here, as in the Manage Inventory page. You'll use the Submit Prices button in this page, though, to save your changes. The Reset Prices button simply removes any changes you made, though you need to use it before you click the Submit Prices button. You've seen the Fee Preview link before. You can click this little link to see the FBA fees. We have 4 extra columns for FBA items. The Inbound column shows how many items you've added to a shipment you're sending to Amazon, or perhaps have already sent. A number in this column means that this number of items are on their way but have not yet been received and checked into the Amazon inventory. The Fulfillable column shows how many items are in the Amazon inventory and available to be sold. Note, by the way, that you might sometimes see a No Listing Exists for this inventory item message in the title column, even if you see something in the Fulfillable column. This means that even though you have an item in the FBA warehouse ready to sell, it's not going to sell because you don't have an active listing. This can happen if you've deactivated a listing for some reason, as we saw in the last video, or due to a system bug. If you see a number in the Unfulfillable column, it means that Amazon does have the item in the warehouse, but they're not going to let you sell it. Perhaps it's been returned damaged from a previous buyer, for instance. So an item that is unfulfillable is not the same as an item with no fulfillable inventory. These are two different things. The reserved column shows you how many items are in the warehouse, but not sellable at the moment because there's a hold on the item. This can happen when the item has been sold, but not yet shipped to the buyer. Finally, the unit volume column shows you how much room the items are taking up in the Amazon warehouse. This may be helpful for keeping track of how much you're paying for storage fees for particular products. There aren't many actions you can carry out on individual items. This page doesn't have the edit button that we saw in the last video. So for many actions, you'll use the Manage Inventory page, which we saw in the last video. There is a menu at the top of this page, though, with some FBA-specific actions. You'll select the checkboxes next to the items you want to work on, then select the particular option in the list box at the top and click the Go button. We've actually seen most of these actions already, with the exception of the Archive and Unarchive items actions. Archiving items simply removes them from view. This is useful for merchants who are not selling the same items over and over. Merchants selling used books and media, for example. Once you've sold an item, you may never replenish the stock. You may never have the same item in stock again. So you can remove the clutter of old listings by checking the checkboxes and selecting Archive. You can always see those listings later using the Include Archived Items checkbox at the top. So, for example, you could choose to see all items with no fulfillable inventory, click the checkbox at the top to select them all, then archive them all at once. You can't archive items that have stock. If you ever do get more inventory for a particular item, you can always unarchive the listing later. On the other hand, used product merchants often find it easier to bulk upload new inventory products and simply create new listings, rather than trying to match up new inventory with old archived listings.